All right, I'm here with Brett Smith, candidate for Ward 4 of the City Council. October 9th is the runoff election, so thank you for joining us, Brett.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, just wanted to start off by asking you about coming to Auburn in 2014 when
Right.
you and your wife, I believe, co-founded Huffsmith Law Firm. Why Auburn, and what have you learned about this community and your time here?
I've got a long history here. I've got several relatives that went to Auburn. My grandmother back in the 60s worked on campus. We've always been big-time Auburn fans, and when it was time, coming from law school and when it was time to have a family, coming from living in Pleasant Grove as I was younger, outside of Bessemer, when me and Haley, my wife, talked about where we wanted to live, there was no doubt that we wanted to be here in Auburn. You have the wonderful small town feel of Auburn, where you have neighbors taking care of neighbors and all the wonderful things, and it doesn't take too long to drive from point A to point B, but you also have the uniqueness of having a wonderful university here, which kind of, the two blend together so well because you have that southern hospitality, right? You've got that feel of what makes Auburn great, but you also have that innovation and that culture enrichment.
Why did you decide to run for City Council or in a public service position?
Right. You know, it kind of starts from where we are with my law firm. Me and my wife founded our Huffsmith Law, which is on the corner of College and Sanford. Our focus has been in our law firm is businesses and nonprofits. Our slogan for our law firm is protecting your future. And so where a lot of times attorneys tend to be adversarial. You'll have one attorney sitting on this side, you'll have another attorney sitting on this side, and someone's getting something from somebody else. Me and my wife made a conscious decision that we wanted to help build, use our skills and our blessings that we have to help build and help build a good business, community, and nonprofits. We've had the opportunity in the last 3 years to help start about 50 new businesses. Also, if you look at the numbers in Auburn, we've got a student base, obviously, that's about the same size. It's a little bit bigger now this year, and I think it probably may grow a little bit more. We have the people who've lived in Auburn that may not be associated with the university or were at one point. We've got a large amount of people that are coming back for retirement age. We also have a lot of people, large group, that are the young family. The ones that are in the heart of their careers, that are starting and having young children, much like mine, with us having a 3-year-old and another girl on the way in November. There's a large group of people who are here to work. They don't want to work in Montgomery. They don't want to work in Columbus. They want to work in Auburn. They want to send their children to our wonderful school system. They're invested in our community, and I see that as an opportunity to represent that block and everyone in my particular ward, in Ward 4, to give them a voice in where we're heading into the future.
I had read just how focused you are on businesses in your
Right.
ward, and there's been a constant dialogue about growth in this community and a kind of hesitation and pushback on that.
Right.
Balancing growth with business, what does progress look like for Ward 4?
And that's important, especially in Ward 4, because if you look at the map, we have Opelika Road, which is a traditional commerce area in the city of Auburn. We also have University that has a lot of businesses located there. We've got the mall. The mall is right there in our ward. It's important when you look at the budget, when you get down to numbers and look at revenue streams for the city, 49% of our revenue comes from sales tax. And so when we're funding, you know, a certain percentage comes from our property tax to pay for education. You've got to, when you get to line items in the budget, you've got to say, where are we going to continue to fund the $17 million that we need for schools? That's super important. I mean, it's important for me. It's important for the families I've talked to in Ward 4 that have young children going to school. They don't want to see their school system degrade. There is, as you said in your question, there's a somewhat of a negative moniker as it comes to growth. There's some, you know, a lot of focus has been on that area on East Glen with some of the student housing growth. And, you know, what makes us great is kind of a problem that we have, because when people, if you look at the numbers, when people are moving into the state of Alabama, they're moving to Birmingham, they're moving to Huntsville, they're moving to Mobile, or they're moving to Auburn. And so the question is, what are we going to do to make sure that we keep our standards up? As more homes are built, we can't put a wall around the city and say, you can't move in here, because everyone has the right to live here. But with that comes cost. We've got to make sure that we keep our services up, our roads are serviced, we've got adequate lighting and sidewalks. There's a lot of things that go into that. And so we have to, with everything being interconnected, we've got to create a strong business community, because that's where our revenue comes from.
Do you feel like there's too much or too little housing available? And what can you do to make sure that there's adequate housing and maybe even parking available for students while pleasing the members that are having that pushback to the rapid growth.
Right. And that, regarding adequate housing, I think that there are certain reports that are put out to show, what percentage are we at? And I think when you look at the stakeholders, because the university has housing, they've got dorms, they have multiple different options for living, but then there's going to be off-campus housing. And so we've got several different private companies that manage that. Some that are new, some that have been around for years. So I think the question is, when we look forward, is where is the university going to be growth-wise? Do we have enough offerings? Do we have enough price points do we have luxury type apartments that parents or students may want to live in with different options? Do we have some lower priced options that students may not have that affordability or the ability to pay? Or do we have a good blend of those types of options? The main thing to me is making sure that we have availability for all students at Auburn to have somewhere to live. And not, of course, we don't want to overbuild because that could affect prices. But if our university is tick up in enrollment, it's important that we're in front of that issue and not behind on that issue.
How do you plan to keep the standards of safety high within your position on City Council, and why should students vote for you?
I think number one is, when it comes to, because we have a unique relationship, the City of Auburn has I just saw as I was coming in, a substation right here at the Student Center. And so we have City of Auburn police officers that protect the university. So there's a good build relationship there, especially because you've got housing right now that's real close to the core of university, where most people are going to be stepping off campus to go to their apartment. And so there's a portion where they've now left campus and now we're into the actual city. And so you've got to make sure for the students and for the parents that we've got a nice bubble. I think our police officers do a wonderful job. We've got to make sure, and I know that the university has taken adequate steps about reporting, and there's safety stations in case you see something. Of course, we had the shooting that was a couple weeks ago, and I don't know that could be attributed to the university in any way. I think those were people unrelated to the university. But to a certain extent, that's the unfortunate part of living in a town, living in a city, but I'm very impressed with the response. You can be proactive in your approach, and you can be strongly reactive when something happens, and to make sure that we identify the root of that problem and make sure we take steps not to allow it to happen again in the future.
City Council has always been really vocal about wanting to enhance parks and recreation facilities. What's your platform?
I've just got reappointed to my second term on the Green Space Advisory Board. That's with the City of Auburn. And the Green Space Advisory Board is a subset of Parks and Rec. We're in control of the green space, the trails, the blueways, those things that kind of, the subset of the parks, our trails. And I'm a huge, as you can imagine, being on the board, I'm a huge proponent of green space. Now, when you look from like a budget standpoint, you look at numbers and you say, okay, well, how much revenue does our parks generate? Well, it doesn't really generate a lot of revenue. But I can show you that what it does generate is well-being, health, alternative options for people who may not have money to pay for events or go to do different things. When you're going forward, you want to kind of have a feel that your development is within the city. You're not kind of clear-cutting and building, but you've got like it's within the town, where you've got trees and green space. So, it's exciting. We just reviewed a new park that's going in Ward 4, because we have Felton Little, which is right on the outside of Ward 4, but we have the Dennis Park, which is going to be right near University in East Glen. That's going to be a wonderful project. To me, it's a crucial element. When you get down to numbers, dollars and cents, and you say, well, if we're going to spend, where the city's looking to invest up to $40 million in future plan, well, we're not really going to be able to generate that back. Well, I don't agree with that. I think we generate that over and over and over, tenfold over.
What do you feel is the biggest issue facing your ward right now, and how do you hope to help?
I think the biggest issue, and when we started out, we set out, we had a slogan, every door in 4. Every door in 4, meaning we're going to go to every single door. Ward 4 has multiple different neighborhoods, as every ward does. For me, going to each neighborhood, communication is huge. That's where we've created our agenda, is that we've gone to, whether it's Stage Road or whether it's Running Vine Lane or whether it's Burke Place or whichever neighborhood, it said, listen, what's important here? What do you need? Is there a street, do you need a street light down at the end here? Or are we having traffic problems here? Or what do sidewalk issues on Annaloo? What is important? So we've made a checklist. We've gone through and said, okay, in this neighborhood, here's the issues. And that's the agenda when we go to on October 9th, if I'm elected, that's the agenda I'm going to use going forward. Is these are what we've expressed. So communication is huge to me. And so you've got to be responsive, because this is the place that you can really see, hey, here's where my tax dollars, When I spend that money, I know that we're hiring a new school resource officer with that money. Or I know I just saw the road paved on University. They're doing work there. You can actually see and feel where your investment is going in the city.
Beyond communication, how important is it for you to maintain a transparent city council seat for Ward 4?
Well, transparency is huge to me. Transparency is huge as an attorney. Transparency, being open and honest starting at the core of my family, being open and honest with my wife and my kids, that's important. Being open and honest to my clients. You know, I work with my clients, I work with our judges, and I work with other attorneys, and sometimes city officials, government officials with the job that we're doing. And so I have to be open and honest with those parties, with those individuals, and trust is a huge deal. You know, if you're not open, if you're not honest, if you hide or you don't talk or you're not truthful, you destroy trust. And that is one of the things where no matter where we have been, no matter what level of trust that we have going forward, I want to be a proponent of being open. I want to be a proponent of just telling you how it is.
What distinguishes you from your competitor?
Well, I think one aspect is, if you look at my resume, we've identified, and I think it's important, 3 elements that are important for city council. I think you want a party, or you want an individual that's informed. You want someone who comes to city council meetings. You know, I've got a running streak of over 2 years of attending every city council meeting. I take every aspect I can to be informed, not only with city government, not only with young families and what's important with them, and making sure we have safe daycares and good places for facilities for them, and schools, and making sure our schools are in line, but also in our business community. I'm involved. I have the honor of being on the board of the United Way. That's a huge honor for me. They do wonderful work here in Lee County. And that could be for a whole other segment of what the impact that the United Way has for all our other nonprofit organizations and just our community. I'm involved on the Green Space Advisory Board. I'm a committee member for the Auburn Young Professionals, which is a group of about 300-400 people. The future business community for Auburn. We're actively pursuing the desire to want to be involved, because I wouldn't seek city leadership without being that way. Being informed is important, being involved is important, and being invested. Having my own small business, decisions that are made at city council directly affect my business. Having children that are going to be going in school, decisions that are made on our Board of Education in the city, those directly affect my children. Living in the town, so living here and all the decisions that are made at City Hall will have a direct impact on me. And I think that's important. When someone goes to vote, they can say, I know that Brett's going to be making the best decision, because he's not just sitting from a position and saying, well, I think this is best for you. I think it's best for you, small business community, or I think it's best for you, kids that have kids in school. No, they can say, I know he's making the best decision because he wants to do the best for his company, right? And so he would want to do best for our companies. And I know that he wants the best for his kids. I know that he wants the best school system. So they know that I'm working elbow in elbow with them in our business community. I'm working elbow in elbow with our families to make sure that we have where we have good services, good infrastructure, good safety, and good education.
A couple fun questions.
Sure.
I was wondering if you had any interesting moments from the campaign trail.
There's about 1,400 homes in Ward 4, and it comes to be about 4,500 people that live there. And so we've gone in the first up to the first election on August 28th, August 28th. We went to every door. That was a huge deal for us. And so with going to every door, there's a lot of dogs. A lot of dogs. Everyone has a dog. And so I went to this, and you go and knock on the door, and you hear someone, woof, or this, and you can kind of gauge, okay, was this dog going to tackle me when this door gets opened? And this sweet elderly lady, opens her door, and I swear this was a horse. It was a Great Dane, and that dog came out and jumped on me, knocked me down. We rolled around the yard. He was just licking on my face, and I said, "What is this dog's name?" She said, "This dog, we call him Tiny." And just yesterday, I was out, and I saw a gentleman for I think the 3rd time we talked, and he said, "Hey, I want to thank you." He said, "I want to thank you for taking your time to come talk to me. I want to thank you for listening to me. It means a lot to me. It makes me feel like you care. Because you've spent a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes coming to where I live. You haven't sent a robocall or called me or blasted me with advertisements. You came as a person and came to talk to me." And he said, I think that's important. And so, you know, people are getting tuned back in. We're 2 weeks out from the election. We worked and worked and worked and worked, and we got to August 28th, and we ended up in the election with 3 candidates. We ended up with 49.46% of the vote. When the provisional ballots were counted, when the absentee ballots were counted, we ended up 6 votes short. 6 votes short of winning outright. That's an amazing feeling. You want to make sure that you're keeping people tuned in because it's real easy to kind of to get either apathetic, to get a position of, well, it doesn't really matter. And that's one of the things I've stressed from the first. It does matter. It matters whether you're a student in undergrad, whether you're a professor at the university, whether you've been here for all your life or you just moved here. You've got a young family or you're elderly. Each person matters because to each one, this is their Auburn. You know, it's my Auburn, it's our Auburn, it's everyone's Auburn. And so that's why it's important that we reach out, that I reach out, that I talk to people, and that's what I want to continue. And that's my belief system as it comes to representation.
If you could give an all-encompassing statement to encourage your constituents to get out and vote for the runoff elections October 9th, what would you say to them?
I would tell them that we have, the facts are the facts. We have going to have a brand new city council. We're going to have a brand new mayor. You know, every politician is going to tell you that this is the election, right? They're always going to say, you got to get out because this is the one that's going to change it all. But the facts are true here, that we're going to have a new city council. We're going to have a potential, some changes in different departments, and the city council is going to directly be responsible for helping fill those roles. Where we're heading, what we're going to look like, where we're going, whether we're going to be able to continue to fund our education system where it's at, whether we're going to continue to be supportive of our local businesses and continue to have wonderful places like Acre and Bow and Arrow and Brazilia's and local businesses, whether we're going to have a community where they can thrive, and whether we're going to continue to have a safe, safety and infrastructure. That's all wrapped up in this election. It's important for me as a business owner, it's important for me as a father and as a husband. I want to make sure that we've got positive growth. I want to be responsive to our citizens. I want to look at maybe doing some things different, look at some unique ways that we can address public transportation or continue to invest. I want us to make sure that we're funding our parks and rec. But I want to make sure all of our people, whether you're working in the private sector, whether you're working at the university, or whether you're working for the City of Auburn government, schools or the government, that they feel stable. That's a big thing. And it's important in saying all of that people get out and voice their opinion, let their opinion be heard, and that's through voting. That's on city government level especially, because it is a place that you can say, I give a percentage of my paycheck to go to education. I pay a portion of my property taxes to go to this service, this education. You can actually see the results. And I just want to thank everybody that's allowed me to go on their doorstep. I thank them for holding their dogs back from licking me to death. No dogs have barked at, or they've barked, but they've no growls or anything. It's very honor. It's an honor to be able to communicate with everybody because we all have individual lives, and our homes are our castles, and that's where we have privacy, and that's where we want serenity. But for them to share that moment with me, a little bit about their life, sometimes people are talking about their aunt who's sick, or they're talking about, again, like I was telling you about somebody who borrowed a casserole dish and hadn't returned it, or power tools and hadn't returned it. That's just what makes us unique. That's what makes our life, and it's awesome to be a part of that.
Thanks so much, Brett.
Thank you very much.
It was a joy to talk to you.